Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Game of Thrones Winter's Coming. Today we are going to take a look at something quite interesting in terms of game mechanics, and that's the scouting and information gathering ability that scouting can give. And we're also of course going to look at what sides it doesn't really show, where you're basically forced to do certain things to actually figure out what is happening or what's in the defensive formation from the opponent's side. And we're also going to talk about how these things can be used in other events such as Alliance Conquest. But that's the topic for the video today, so let's get straight to it. We have now moved into the overworld view instead to see what we can do with scouting and targets. When you're scouting rebel camps, you of course won't go into further, whereas if you try to scout other players, then you will actually enter a further status, which you see there, further effect enabled, and that's of course reasonable. So whenever you're scouting around and checking stuff out, make sure that you have your anti-scout on, which you can find in the Chapter 7, and you can just click on immediate queue view there and basically put it on, and then other people can scout you as easily. Of course, now I have done a few scouting reports on rebel camps and enemy players as well, as you saw before, and you can see fairly simple that the scouting reports tell you what troops are inside, which is not a bad thing. For some situations it's very easy. For example, here you know, okay, there's only infantry inside, so you can just go with the full cap rally and hit it hard. Whereas stuff like this, where it's spear bow, bowmen will always be in the back. There's no formation that puts bowmen in the front, so you will know that the formation will have spear bow inside, so full inf rally will do the job. Whereas when we go to a rally of this type, it starts becoming tricky, because in the way that it shows that inf is in the front, but that doesn't necessarily have to be the case, and you can't really figure out the actual formation in these kind of situations from a scouting report, other than if you attack, which we are going to do in a bit. And the same applies to when you are actually scouting out players. It shows what commanders are on the wall, and it shows the troops that are inside, but doesn't really show anything in terms of what formation the person is using. And you have to basically try and either attack the person with a scouting attack or a scouting rally, if you can say like that, and hope that it goes through, or you have to check out through the commands that are listed on the wall to see what possible formation the person could be running that these commanders are promoting, basically. In this case, you would say, okay, maybe he is more infantry focused because he has an infantry command on the wall. So basically say, okay, then maybe we should try and go in with a calf rally or inf calf rally to try and somehow be safe. But these are like the limitations of the scouting that are in the game currently. But now we're going to take a look at what happens when you're actually attacking a castle. How to get around some of the limitations that certain scouting reports has. As mentioned before, you don't know the actual formation that the enemy is running. So one way to do it is basically, like I said before, attacking directly. Just remember, when attacking a player, at least, that you get into further. I did a rally on a camp as well. It was the same camp that we scouted up before with the inf, calf and bow. And you can see that we attacked that it had spearmen infantry inside as the formation, which means that the infantry troops will be in the front row, and then calf will be behind that and bow will be behind the calf. So it's basically turned into an inf calf formation instead. Had there been spearmen inside as well, then the spearmen would have been in front, and I would probably have suffered more losses because I've been running into it with calf. So one way to actually scout out camps that have multiple troops inside is to do a baby rally of maybe 2 troops. You can run in, you get the report from it, and it will say what formation it is there is inside. And that way you can figure out, okay, this is how it works basically, on how to counter that specific camp. This of course is much more risky when we are doing it against a player, because against a player you will need a certain size, a certain amount of troops to actually make sure that you get a report out of it. But if you lose, or you have your main lord inside and it's a strong opponent, you basically lose your main lord. So that way it's much more difficult to actually figure out a report from a player compared to a camp. And as you can see here, when I attack this specific player, he has a cav, bow, spear commander in the wall, but the formation is infantry cav. And the good thing is, if people are below a certain BR, then it's guaranteed that they are infantry cavalry formation, because they haven't unlocked the other formations in terms of research. However, if the person is much stronger, then there's a much bigger risk in terms of not knowing what the person has inside, what formation is running, and so on. And this is why also it's super important that you have the anti-scout on, because if people can't scout you, then they have to basically guess based on what they can see or what they have heard to actually attack. And if you have a certain BR, let's say maybe you are 500, 600 BR, million of course, then it's much more risky to attack you, because they can risk actually losing their lord on the attack, which will open themselves up to be counter-attacked and lose everything they have. So you have to be very careful about how you're using your scouting, also because it puts you into favor when you're attacking real players. So now you might be thinking, okay, how does this even help me then? Well, in AC for example, in AC for example, these things do not apply. Mainly because in AC you have this particular thing that you can't lose your lord, and you can also not really do anything wrong in terms of attacking wrong, because even if you are attacking with one troop against someone that holds a position on the field, let's say someone is maybe sitting at mother and you want to see what's inside, you can send one troop solo attack up there and you'll get a report out of it, and you can see, okay, this person has a certain rally size, has these stats, has this specific information, and you can basically plan how to take back the position that way, with the use of scouting and information. And that's the key point to actually this video. There are certain things that you can do with scouting, and there are certain things that you actually have to attack. Rebuild camps and AC, fairly easy, you can just attack without any risk. PvP is a lot more risky, because you actually have to put out a big enough army to actually get a report out of it. So, but this was kind of like a video to cover the information aspect of the game. Hope you found it useful. It's a bit different from what I'm used to. Like and comment if you're new to the channel. Subscribe to the channel as well if you will. If you want to play the game, the link is down in the description below, and so it is for the Game of Thrones Winners Coming Discord group, and the music that I'm using here for this video. I hope you all have a great weekend, have a great AC match, and good luck with everything. And we have recently been announced that we will have a new event coming the 24th of January, so look forward to that as well. But this video is going to be all from me today, so take care, bye bye.